Mariners 5, Rangers 2, and for the first time in 2026, the Mariners have hit a left-handed starting pitcher just like they wanted to. Welcome to the Dom Skiing Channel, your one-stop shop for the Mariners storylines on Seattle's minds. And that's right, I've got Rob Refsnyder, and I'm calling him the answer because this is what I thought the answer should have been in the offseason. They did exactly what I thought they were going to do, bringing him in, and now he homers on the first pitch the Mariners see. So we're going to do a little bit of a victory lap, but we're also going to analyze exactly what happened. Mariners 5-2 Rangers, 8-5 on the hits, and 347 to 227 on the expected batting average. The Mariners are putting up some great expected batting averages now. Finally, this weekend, I mean, even this past week a little bit, getting over 300 multiple times. This offense definitely has some more juice than it was showing originally in that Texas series, even in parts of the San Diego series on Friday night getting blanked. But it's all good in this one because you make the Texas Rangers use 5 men out of their bullpen. Some of their high leverage guys, Beeks, Collier is becoming something, and then Junis, and you still end up beating them by 3 runs. Comfortable save for Andres Munoz, relatively. Gabe Spire pitches well, but Brian Wu, 11 hard hits on 85 pitches is a little much. He was getting hit a little bit hard, didn't get the swinging strikes he usually does today, but still goes 7 strong innings, only 2 earned runs on 4 hits, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. You'll take that all day, and we still haven't come up with a name that I love for when everybody who starts that day gets a hard hit, but that happened again. Let me know in the comments down below what we should call that on this channel when everybody gets a hard hit in the lineup, because Mackenzie Gore, 11 hard hits on 90 pitches. Get him out of there after 5 innings, 5 earned runs, 7 hits, only 1 walk, but you will take it any day of the week. 3 homers. The Mariners came out here, hit the ball really hard in the marine layer. It's a nice hot April day. It's the high of 75 today. That's got to be the highest of the year so far, right? And yeah, the Mariners took advantage. Rob Refsnyder, obviously the leadoff first pitch homer in the first inning. You have J.P. Crawford going deep in the second inning for a 369-foot, what was that, like a 2-run homer? Yeah, and then that made the game 3-0. Then Randy Rosarena in the 5th inning tacks on the last 2 runs that the Mariners would get before Brian Wu allows 2 earned runs in the 7th inning after going out there on a great pitch count. Has his first 20 pitch inning of the afternoon, but he gets through it. The Rangers, I think, leave the bases loaded again, so fun to see. Mackenzie Gore, looking at what the Mariners did against him and what he did against the Mariners, he had to throw that changeup all over the place to the right-handers. He had to throw, he threw so many four-seam fastballs in the zone. It's like, I am encouraged by this performance against the lefty, but other teams, it's like they're probably just not going to throw that many four-seam fastballs in the zone to these to our players. And Rob, right, 94.6, right, that was a four-seam fastball right in the middle of the zone, and he just crushes it. He's been doing that too. He's had a lot of hard hit balls. He's been elevating it quite a bit. Has a 30-degree average launch angle this year, which we're going to get into in a minute, what that means and why it's significant for his results right now and moving forward. But the main point is, then JP and Randy go ahead and homer off of breaking balls. JP off the curveball, and I believe Randy was off the, I don't remember if it was the curve or the changeup, or no, it was the curve. Yeah, the curve is the only one that could have been. But anyway, Mackenzie Gore, 90 pitches, 13 swinging strikes, so not half bad on his part there. But the 95.5 mile an hour average exit velocity, you get 6 hard hits on his four-seam fastball. That's exactly what you want to do. Make him throw you more four-seam fastballs. And only 145 total pitches from the Rangers on the afternoon. But you had Mackenzie Gore throwing 90 in just 5 innings. You'll definitely take that any day of the week. Not one big inning as you see by these pitch counts, 13, 24, 21, 15, and 17 in each inning. However, there's also nothing under 13. you weren't getting a whole bunch of walks against him and stuff, but you were having long enough at bats to keep the line moving, and you even get to the third time through the order to get him out of the game after five. Then Brian Wu, on the other hand, one more thing on Mackenzie Gore before I move on to Wu is that you see like this pitch, he's got some changeups all over the place and stuff. Didn't want to leave those in the zone as much, but he left so many four seam fastballs in the zone. I think that a lot of pitchers are just going to do what San Diego did and not throw fastballs in the zone to these Mariners hitters. So the next big test, I haven't even looked. I think Mariners probable pitchers. I'm pretty sure that you're going to get Jacob Lopez this week. Yeah, you're getting Jacob Lopez on Wednesday, and that right there is a lefty who you'll have another chance to see Rob Refsnyder and those guys against him. You're getting him on Tuesday. Then the Cardinals, I haven't looked deep enough, far enough forward to scout exactly who, what lefties they're going to have. But with Jacob Lopez, this is the next chance that you're really going to use this blueprint off of. He throws the four seam is his main pitch, 32% of the time. Also has the slider, 23%, cutter, 21%. And those are going to be about even. All between 21 and 29% to the right-handed hitters. So for the right-handed hitters to succeed against the next lefty in Jacob Lopez, you're gonna, how much is he zoning? Let's see, how much is he gonna zone that four seam fastball? Quite a bit. He's been throwing it at the top of the zone enough. So it's like if you don't get these four seamers in the zone, though, it's a worry about, are you going to do the damage? And you do the damage against the Mackenzie Gore curveball. That's a good sign. But you're going to have to maybe do it against some of Jacob Lopez's, like his slider, his cutter as well. So that's the thing to watch out for with the Mariners right-handed hitting off left-handed pitcher conundrums thus far. Moving on now to, I'm just surprised he threw so many and let's look at the zone rate for his four-seam fastball, 75%. You can't do that against the Mariners and expect success. That's how you give up 6 hard hits on that. 3 hits on 8 batted ball events, 99.8 mile an hour average exit velocity on that pitch alone. The curveball, you get 4 hard hits, 99.2 average EV, and that's on just 4 hits on 5 batted ball events, 4 hard hits as well. So it's like you can't be and that was only 42% in the zone. But you can't be throwing the ball in the zone to these Mariners hitters. I know that's that's what you want to do. You want to force them out of the zone because now the Athletics don't have as good of pitchers as the Rangers. You could argue that none of the next 3 pitchers that you face, JT Ginn, Jacob Lopez, and Aaron Savali, right? You could argue none of those 3 are as good as any of the 3 that you faced this week with the Rangers. And you could even argue that they're not as good. None of those 3 are as good as any of the 3 you faced this week with the Padres or Mike Burrows. So in a 7-game week, all the pitchers the Mariners faced, this 7-game long week just now, you could argue the next 3 pitchers are all going to be below the caliber of those 7. So the A's, this is a real opportunity to, now these guys should be scared to live in the zone, and you can force them outside of the zone, get the pitch count up early, get to the bullpen, and you can have the turnstiles moving, not just at the stadium gates, but on the field as well, at the plate. And with this lineup, you can just keep handing the baton off because they're gonna have to go out of the zone against some of these hitters that are getting hot. Julio batting 300 in the last 7 games, 10 games, I want to say. He got this long streak of on base streak. Cal Raleigh's starting to show signs of life too. I know his stats are still not where you want him to be quite yet, but he's starting to show signs. And then you go, look at obviously like the Luke Rayleighs that you're gonna have. Tomorrow against JT Ginn, the JP Crawfords of the world are getting hot as well. Cole Young, 3 hard hits. I want to highlight that because 1 for 4 today, but 3 hard hits from Cole Young. 2 and even 2 from Connor Joe. Connor Joe should have had an extra base hit if it didn't hit the umpire in the unlikeliest of scenarios. Leo Rivas, even credit to him, didn't get a hit today. The only starter, him and Mitch Garver, the only starters to not get a hit. But he did get hit by a pitch and get on base, which the Rangers actually tried to challenge. But he leaning in a little bit, doing the scrappy things. You like to see that from your 9-hitter Leo Rivas. So even without Brendan Donovan, this lineup gets hot. Then you add Brendan Donovan back in whenever he's ready to go again. You got to be. I mean, I'm making the case to be excited. There's still cause for concern with the exactly what you saw early on. Through the first 20 games. I mean, can't hit the splitter, can't hit the the changeup. Some of these other pitches. So you got to be a little bit worried about that stuff. But moving on, and then Randy Arozarena, he had his homer off the foul pole, which I got to mention as well. And talk about just for a second. It was only a homer in 1 out of 30 ballparks, and that's T-Mobile Park. So how often do you see that our ballpark actually helping us out, being the only one that a homer would have counted in, and we get it. Rob's was a homer in 30 out of 30 ballparks. JP's 18 out of 30. So both sides of the coin too. Randy 1 out of 30 ballpark homer, and then Rob a 30 out of 30 ballpark homer. Of course, after I say, moving on to Brian Wu in a sec, I want to mention one more thing. I go probably off in a tangent for several minutes, but going on to Brian Wu finally. His pitch chart looks, look at all these four-seam fastballs up and out of the zone. Like, he's just challenging guys way, way up there. And I've got to assume that a lot of these teams are going to see that, and they're going to say, oh, okay, look how much he's throwing up and out of the zone to us. We can't, or to these teams, so it's going to be the Cardinals next weekend. You got to imagine that he's going to say, we are, on, this will be this next Saturday, that he faces the Cardinals. You've got to imagine that they're going to say, okay, we're not going to swing at these high fastballs that are way up and out of the zone. It's so hard coming out of his arm slot, though. That is where he has such a big advantage. He's so low in that arm slot, that he's able to throw it, and you can't see it, from that low arm slot going high above the zone. So I'm really liking this stuff right here, from him. And I have to imagine, the Cardinals, with their hitters are going to be, conservative against those high fastballs. And, you got some young studs there, like J.J. Weatherholt, Ivan Herrera starting to get hot. Like, those guys are going to have to kind of carry this lineup this year. I mean, obviously, Jordan Walker. Gotta mention Jordan Walker, but that dude's 6'6". So for him to go out there and, get these high fastballs, like Brian Wu's going to have to throw them pretty high, obviously. But that's going to be interesting, this high fastball kind of storyline with Brian Wu. And I mean, he's, not afraid to throw the sinkers all in the zone, not afraid to, he's just unafraid in general. He has such an edge to him this year. He was so pissed off in that San Diego start. I don't think I mentioned quite just how pissed off I felt like he was from the very beginning of that game through the walking over to the umpire on first base, who called him for a balk and talking to him. I mean, he's pitching with an edge that I don't think, his edge is on another level this year. So excited to see, how, if that changes things, how it does. But the best thing about him is that he doesn't change too much, is that he's as consistent of a pitcher as there is in Major League Baseball so far. He is, and that's, if he does, knock on wood, want to win the Cy Young, like, if he does have a chance at the end of the year, it'll be because he doesn't have the blow-up starts that some of these other guys do, which we've already seen from quite a few of these other pitchers. He goes 7 innings, 4 hits, 2 runs, earned runs, as well. Only in that 7th inning, 6 strikeouts to 1 walk, 9 swinging strikes on 85 pitches, and 11 hard hits on the 85 pitches. The keys for him, right? Greater than 50% zone rate, which he was at 55. So that's check that off the list, right? Tick that box. For him, he always keeps that average exit velocity under the 90 mile an hour mark, which we love. But It was at 91.5 today. So, unfortunately, the underlying numbers said that it was, not quite as good. And, if you watch the start, you see that he's allowing some hard contact. 12% swinging strike rate, that's like kind of the average for like a really, really good pitcher these days. And you'd like to see him keep it above that on any given start. But today it was 10.6%. So not quite above that mark. League average last year was 11.1. So below average on the swinging strike rate and on the average exit velocity. But he still produces great results. And, the pitch count plays up, the pitch count is in great shape. 9, 10, 11 pitches the first 3 innings, then 12, 12, 8, and then 23 his last 4 innings. So other than that, 23 pitch 7th inning, no inning over 12 pitches, extremely economical with the pitch count. Then the pitches playing up in the weather, the nice Pacific Northwest weather. On the spin rate, you can see the spin rate's a little bit up here, right? And then, the break and drop was all pretty much within good ranges. Like the sweeper, right? You could have just a little less feel for your sweeper, especially when you only throw it 8 times, right? It's not going to normalize. So that could mean he just, didn't throw it quite to break enough on 2 of those 8 pitches, right? That's extremely fluky. But you look at the four-seam fastball, it's exactly where you want it to be, and then over 38 of them. And then you look at the sinker, it's exactly where you want it to be, in line with his yearly average on 22 of them. His slider also, within one, his slider actually played up by an inch on each axis. So all that's good. And then really you get the same old consistent B-Woo. Less than average underlying numbers for him, and that's for his average underlying numbers. But still an excellent start overall for his 4th quality start of the season. He's just as consistent as they come. That's the main thing to know about him. And he's basically Zach Wheeler 2.0, as consistent as Zach Wheeler has been in recent years for the Phillies. That's what you're getting with Bryan Woo. There's the Skeens, Skubal, and Crochet guys. I would put those guys in a tier of their own. And in my opinion, right, I did say a couple of weeks ago, I think Cam Schiller's the top starting pitcher in the MLB. I think right now, on the eye test, and if I have to have one guy to go shut down, to go shut down Murderers Row, the 1929 Yankees, tomorrow, it would be him. But if it's a guy, just to go, if I have a pitcher, and my life is on the line, just to go against any lineup and go 6 innings, get a quality start, it would be Bryan Woo. He's as consistent as they come. Yeah, I think he is basically the best of the non-top tier strikeout masters in baseball right now. Then you move on to Rob Refsnyder, who I'm saying is kind of the answer because, the Mariners are leading him off still for a reason. I know some, you got to block out the noise, and credit to Rob because in that post-game interview he does on the field, he says, he credits Adam Bernero, the Mariners performance coach, which actually I want to go ahead and put this guy's, I want to put something about this guy up here on, he played in the early 2000s. He wasn't necessarily some special dude when he played, but they actually interviewed him on Seattle Sports 710 a month ago, so that's a good interview. I actually need to watch that because I don't know if I think I did watch that, but I don't really remember it too well. This guy is he's the mental performance coach for the Mariners. That's his title. And Rob basically credited him nobody wants to have a slow start, but you just got to keep going out there and doing what you do and, not worry about it. And here you see, his baseball savant, everything, is down in the dumps in terms of his expected stats, his average exit velo, hitting the ball hard, all this stuff. But his bat speed is fine. He's not squared up at as many balls, but he's not chasing balls either. He's not whiffing a whole bunch. He's struck out about average, and actually it went down today. Strikeout rate's down at 20% now, but his walk percentage is way up. So he's walking a ton. He's not chasing. He's not whiffing. His expected stats are all just terrible, and he hasn't hit the ball hard yet. But I think you saw today that, nothing's broken. He'll be just fine. He can do that. And then I did see his launch angle is up at 32.6 right now, just through 22 games, which he hasn't, which he hasn't even played in all of, or 23 games now, right? I think this is just through 22 games. There's, right here. And it's never been like that. This guy's like a singles hitter, yet his average launch angle is, suggesting he's like an extreme fly ball guy. That's going to normalize. He's not going to be an extreme fly ball guy for the entire season. Once he starts getting, what I'm looking forward to is this guy just mashing singles. My bold prediction this week for him is going to be 2 singles off Jacob Lopez. That would be, obviously it's optimistic. It's not, I think this guy's going to be pitching out of the zone on purpose with his four-seam fastball. Not doing what Mackenzie Gore did, not doing what, but it's like he's going to get in the lineup against Jacob Lopez. Jacob Lopez is going to walk a whole bunch of guys, and then I'm going to say that his second and third time through the order. His first time, I'm going to say he walks. His second and third time, I'm going to say that he just smashes singles. And that's really who I think he's going to be. That's who he's been his whole career, is evidenced by this launch angle, right? He's trying to hit line drives, not trying to hit homers. This is all going to normalize. And as he said, right, he's with that, mental performance coach, Adam Bernero, focusing on the internal stuff, not all the external noise of, we should get rid of this guy who we brought in to help us with left-handed pitching to bring up Colt Emerson, who, by the way, Colt Emerson's stats in AAA Tacoma suggest that he could use another couple weeks. So I'm in support of that too. But giving him a couple more weeks, even though he's as ready as they, Jared Dipoto said he's as ready as they can be as they come to get into the major leagues. He should be up in probably the next month or two, but he's not even going to replace Rob Refsnyder. If the Mariners have told you anything about Rob Refsnyder this far into the season, it's that they led him off. They've been leading him off against lefties. That tells you how highly they think of this guy and his ability to do that role, to perform in that role. So just because he hasn't performed yet doesn't mean he's not going to. And yeah, I'm excited to see him against Jacob Lopez this week. I guess I'll end off by saying, this week of Mariners baseball, tumultuous with, the Houston game, the last sweep in Houston, the last Houston game on Monday. Feels like a while ago already, doesn't it? Down through San Diego and that Friday shutout against the Rangers, all the way back up this weekend with these 2 wins over Texas to take the series. And now you've got the Athletics and you've got the Cardinals, 2 teams who are projected, who don't have that good of pitchers, right? Even if the Athletics have a good offense, well, they're coming to our stadium here, where they come to the Marine Layer to hit. So that's good news, for us, is that, and our pitchers all pitch so well, right? Especially, let alone in the Marine Layer, that, we can shut that down. We shouldn't be worried about that, or anybody's lineup for that matter, especially the A's. But also, their pitching is their problem. So we get to go up against a whole lot of pitchers that are not half as good as what we went up against this week. So I would even say the same thing about the Cardinals pitching. You get to go up against the A's pitchers, the Cardinals pitchers. This can be a week that the stats normalize for the Mariners hitters. I would not be surprised to see Cal Raleigh go on an absolute tear this week. Julio, I think, is showing signs of it already. That's something that I'm going to watch out for. I think Josh Naylor got the day off, but he can go on a tear this week. There's going to be a whole lot of right-handers he can mash. So I know, if the stats haven't normalized yet, just wait till the end of this week. I've got to go and get ready for this week. Got the NFL draft this week. Follow my work over at Seahawks Wire. Going to be doing a whole lot of last-minute draft articles on there this week, and this next weekend I'll actually be at a family member's wedding, so it's going to be hectic, covering the NFL draft, being at this wedding, and then also getting some Mariners videos out for you guys. So I will see you guys tomorrow. I'm actually going to be going to the game tomorrow too, last minute. So I'm going to see Emerson Hancock in person for the first time this year. Hopefully, uh, he has a fifth good start. That's what I'm anticipating. And I'll talk to you guys before when we see the lineup tomorrow, and I'll talk to you guys after the game tomorrow when when we get the A's for the first time this season. And that's going to do it for this week of Dom Skeen's Mariners coverage. Remember, as long as you go 1-0 every pitch, stay stoic and give all glory to God. You can't lose. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Go M's.